Hi, and welcome back to the Inside of My Head, where we're looking at episodes 7, 8, and 9 of Godzilla Singular Point, Toho's new Godzilla anime. And goddamn, there's a lot of talking points, so make sure you beat that subscribe button. And let's get stuck right in. So we left off the last Singular Point video at the start of episode 7 with Godzilla Aquatilis chasing the group of Manders into Tokyo and making landfall. Then fighting with Amanda, which is our first monster-on-monster fight, remember? Remember, there haven't actually been any up till this point, and even this one, you barely see it, as it's shrouded in the red dust. The few shots you do get of it, though, are very cool. With this large foot stomping down and flattening a whole lot full of cars, the tail hitting the building and concrete and glass showering everywhere, they are awesome little snippets of something I ultimately just want to see more of. Usually when they show little tidbits like this, though, it's because they're building anticipation for something bigger, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Anyway, Godzilla kills the Manda and takes on his second form, which is Godzilla Amphibia, which, as has been much discussed already, has more than a passing resemblance to Varan. I'm wondering if these design cues are more than just nods to the franchise back catalogue, though. Aquatilis to Titanosaurus, Amphibia to Varan, etc. You know what I mean, right? I'm hoping that there's more to it than just fan service, but I'll discuss that in another vid. Mei has another science ramble to Professor Lee about archetype being half in this dimension and half in another. And she does this thing with a piece of jello explaining that these events are the refraction through time, which makes me wonder if we're in some kind of time loop here and these events are repeats of things that have happened before and therefore destined to repeat again. Anyway, that's just a little theory of mine. I might do another video on it if I get time. Then we cut back to the secretive corporation. Remember them? It's called Shiva Corporation, and they're the ones who have Salunga captured in the tunnel in India. BB and this black-eyed woman called Tilda. Wait, she has black eyes? Like, what is she, a demon in human form or something? Anyway, they talk about how it's the Godzilla monster itself producing the red dust. That's interesting, isn't it? Does that mean he is a Singular Point himself? And look at this, it's not just Godzilla that has different forms in this. Jet Jaguar's up for an upgrade. He gets longer limbs now, I guess for greater mobility and reach, and also has an upgrade to its AI, so now it's a completely self-functioning robot with its own personality. He's given a spear made from the Angura spike, and I really like the fact that he's kind of evolved as well through this. As the other creatures have, if you think about it. Godzilla has obviously evolved, but Angurus got bigger through the earlier eps. Salunga will too, as we go along, you'll see. Rodan changed in form. So there's obviously a theme of change and growth and evolution, which started in Shin Godzilla, and they are going all out with it in this show. This dude is still investigating Ashihira and checks out the Godzilla bones in the basement, deducing that it was the bones that put out the signal that summoned the first Rodan, as he finds them all connected up with cables. Then he gets tased by this guy, who it turns out later is also working for Shiva. BB then has to deal with Salunga climbing out of the silo and uses the orthogonal diagonalizer, which looks a hell of a lot like the Oxygen Destroyer from 54, don't you think, to shift the red dust into another one of its phases. Remember, archetype can be manipulated and has 13 phases, and the orthogonal diagonalizer can trigger it to shift into these shard-like crystal spikes. It creates a latticework and skewers Salunga and nearly stabs BB in the eye, which he just laughs about, like some S&M loving psychopath, so God knows what his browsing history is like. Salunga is not dead though, as he can be seen twitching around, and you know he's gonna be back. Episode 8 starts with the military bombarding Godzilla Amphibia when he does this. He blasts out an ice-cold breath blast, which triggers explosions in the air around him before drawing loads of the red dust towards his body and throwing them up in the air and igniting them in a huge plume of smoke and fire. And what the fuck? This is awesome. This results in everything in the radius being coated in a magma-like rock, and it's clearly Godzilla's cocoon for his next form, and I wonder if this is another phase of archetype. The Ataki crew see Amanda washed up dead on the beach, and it's clear that something has burst out of its body, chestburster style. And after they find this weird nest nearby, Jet Jaguar, and don't you just love how they've loaded him onto the back of their truck here? He's clearly far too big, but they've made it work somehow. Anyway, Jet Jaguar uses his new spear to fight a whole swarm of regenerating and multiplying Kamungas. He goes absolutely slash happy, and it's fucking awesome! But the Kamunga's oozy blue inside starts to shift in form and be able to take shape itself, and doesn't this look like a reference to Hedorah to you? But at least this Hedorah isn't made of shit. Anyway, there's a really nice moment where Jet Jaguar is playing rock, paper, scissors or something with some kids, and it's clear that the producers are trying to build a rapport with this guy. And you know what? It's working, because although I found him pretty goofy to begin with, he's turning into one of my favorite things about the show. Ep 9 starts with the military bombing Godzilla's cocoon, and you know that always ends well, right? They know there's something still alive in there, but this just breaks the cocoon off and breaks him out of there, and his new form is, yes, it's Godzilla terrestris. And I'm pretty sure I spoke about his design a lot in the last video, so I won't spend too much time on that, but eventually he roars and sends a stupendously large cloud of red dust into the sky, which is almost like a mushroom cloud, but with a glowing, pulsating strand of energy at its core. And that is insane. It's so epic. Look at that visual. And given what we know about these monsters not being able to survive for long outside of the red dust, you wonder if they're trying to terraform the Earth to make it more livable for them. But regardless, this is clearly ground zero. Anyway, after a good spot of puking like in Shin, the military hit Terrestris with a missile, which clearly wounds him. But out of that wound come these carnage-like tendrils that start flailing around and grab a second missile that the military had shot at him and squeezes it until it detonates. Then his backplates light up and this ring appears as he charges up to do an atomic breath, but then he's swamped in red dust and we don't see what happens. Maybe this is just him realizing that he has that new ability now. He's like, oh shit, man, look what I can do. That'll come in handy if those pesky humans piss me off. Jet Jaguar continues the fight with the swarm of Kamungas, and it's a pretty good action scene, even though it's broken in the middle by one of Yun and Mei's science texting sessions. God damn it, guys, is now really the time? Why didn't you get back to my business for 3 minutes? Sorry, but I was under attack by a swarm of killer spiders from another fucking dimension. You attacked somebody! Ah! Anyway, Jet Jaguar and the gang escape the swarm of Kamungas. Now he has to sit on the back of a boat that's far too small for him. I find this funny, but I don't know if it's a joke or not, but it's funny. While shadowy organization Shiva focus on using the orthogonal diagonalizer, which they think will neutralize the red dust. Professor Lee is killed by rodents. And Yun sees the red cloud for the first time, stating that the catastrophe predicted by Ashihira and that this is all building up to is starting. Ba, ba, ba. Oh, I really can't do this. Squirrel! What do you want? Oh, I'm sorry. Were you busy? I was in my tree playing with my nuts. Do the thing. Do the one thing that you do. Do it. I don't get paid for this, you know. What do you want? Imaginary money for your imaginary life so you can buy an imaginary Rolls Royce so you can cruise around with your imaginary squirrel bitches and get the fuck out of here. Just do the thing, will you? Motherfucker. So these 3 episodes have pretty much been par for the course, continuing the very slow build in momentum, which I think is going to get drawn out right up until the very last ep, where hopefully we'll see a satisfying climax. There have been a couple of cool action scenes though, but again, centering on Jet Jaguar rather than on Godzilla, but the ones that are there are awesome. I haven't really spoken that much about the art style in this show yet, but I won't blither on for too long. Just to say that often with Netflix anime, when it blends 2D and 3D styles, it'll often come down too heavily on the side of 3D, which makes it feel slightly inauthentic in terms of anime.
Listen to the anime hipster over here.
But I think this hits the balance really well. It always feels hand-drawn, whether it is or isn't, I don't know, but you never get that overly crisp, clean, computer-rendered look that always zaps me right out of there. The colors are super vibrant, but always work really well together and are never gaudy, and the animation itself is top-notch in places. Like, look at the way Jet is running here with the gangway collapsing underneath him. It's full of character, and it's brilliant. What makes this show different is these deep and complex scientific discussion scenes that the more I try and understand them, the more confused I seem to get. But actually piecing all this stuff together is something that keeps me coming back, and I find it really quite intriguing. It does make for something that's not exactly an easy watch, and as I and others have said before, if you're looking for mindless action for entertainment's sake, best look elsewhere. Of course, you can just switch your brain off to these parts and let them pass you by, and I'm pretty sure most people will get through it with just the gist of what's happening. But I really do hope that they bring it all together with a good conclusion, and it doesn't turn out to be a Lost style letdown. Okay, so I already have the next video underway. That'll be EPs 10, 11, 12, and then I'll dedicate a full video to the finale. I also have a few bite-sized vids planned, so make sure you're subbed in for that.